Hello and welcome to episode number 3 of my new podcast. So, today's episode, I want to talk about fasting. Alright, now the reason I want to talk about this is because I've had a lot of experience with it over the past sort of year and a half, 2 years, maybe a little bit longer than that now. I'd say about 2 years. And it started off for me just as an experiment. Like, I wanted to see how I felt on it. I heard some good things about it. Some people said that it worked for them really well. Some people said it was awful for them. And I just basically wanted to have a go, see how I felt on it, and then make my mind up for myself. Now, I initially was only going to do it for between 4 to 6 weeks. I was going to fast in the morning, so I wasn't going to eat anything at all apart from just drinking water until about 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I would stop my eating, so I would start fasting again at about 10 o'clock. So that's like between, 10 more 10s, 12, 11, 12, 1. So about 15, 16 hours fasting, depending on what time I finish eating. Obviously, if I stop eating at 9 o'clock, start eating at 1, it's a little bit of a longer fast. So kind of the reasons why I wanted to fast in terms of where I was coming from. And by the way, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a dietitian. This is no way in me promoting fasting for you. I'm just completely speaking from experience here, just giving you my ideas, my input, my experiences and how I found it. So don't think that, this is me telling you to go and start fasting from tomorrow. If you want to try it, that's completely up to you. I would recommend always trying different things, no matter what it is or what it involves. Obviously, some things are questionable, but within health and wellness, I would definitely recommend trying different things to see what works for you. And personally, I found it to be very beneficial. So when I started fasting, because I like to have a routine. Now, the thing with fasting is, it's a little bit on both sides, because you have to have a routine so that you've got something to eat when you want to break your fast, because the one of the biggest things that I have taken away from fasting is the quality of your food, especially when you're breaking your fast, has to be high quality. Because if you've not eaten for 16 hours and you eat like very cheap sort of supermarket mass quantity made bread with a cup of coffee that's got loads of sugar and milk in it, your stomach is going to let you know that it does not like that. Okay, it's really going to have a bit of an issue with it. I am just going to slightly adjust this. There we go, that's better. So, actually, no, I prefer it the way it was. So for me, it really helped open my eyes in terms of the quality of the foods that I eat in general. It needed to be better, because I used to be that guy that would eat cereal for breakfast before I started fasting, because I was training a lot. I could excuse the calories at that point in my life. I wasn't aware of the whole calorie sort of thing. I'll go into that more in another video, and I did discuss that on episode number 2 a little bit. So if you want to hear my opinions on calories and things like that, then go watch episode number 2. So keeping it with fasting, it really opened my eyes in terms of the quality of the foods that you have to eat when you break your fast has to be very high, because if not, basically you have to go to the toilet a lot, and it's really not fun. Your stomach hurts. You can just tell that your stomach's in a very fragile state. It's been empty. The only thing it's had is water. All your digestive system has had a chance to sort of clear out a little bit, almost, from my understanding of it. It has a chance to really sort of absorb everything that's already in there. And I was speaking to someone the other day, actually, and I kind of looked it up, and apparently there's a little bit of science that's been done. And once you get over the 18-hour mark of fasting, your body actually starts to use old cells that need regenerating as fuel, and it can actually, I think it does something to them that can turn them almost into like antioxidants, or they help repair your own body. So what your body, from the science that I've looked into, apparently can do is it can use the old cells and the old stuff inside your body to help make new ones. So, I mean, fasting seems like overall it's a very good thing, and that's purely like health and wellness stuff. That's nothing to do with like fitness and the way you look. Now, kind of crossing into that, I've found that fasting, on a purely logical level, I'm eating less frequently. All right. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to eat a lower amount of food. Like if you're someone who trains a lot like me, I fast until midday, have a small snack, I'll have a little bit of a bigger meal midday, and then towards the evening I'll have my big meal. So I'm probably not eating any less volume of food, but the quality of my food has gone up, and the frequency in what I eat has gone down. So that means that my digestive system has had time to sort of relax and recover, which means, again, from what I've been looking into, that your energy within your body isn't taken up so much from always having to digest food. It's allowed to then use that energy in other places, whether it's repairing your muscles, getting a better workout, being more focused. So I've really felt that, to be honest with you, in my own life, in my training, in my work, just being out with friends. I've really found that I can almost rely on my body's energy to let me do as much work, as many workouts as I really want, until the point where I eat. Now, to give you an example, I went on a hike with a friend a couple of weeks ago now, and we probably set off from the town centre at about 11 a.m. We walked all day, we did all sorts of crazy stuff, and then we got back to the car at about 7 p.m. I didn't eat a crumb of food the entire time, and I got back to the car, I had a handful of nuts and a banana, and I was a little bit hungry going through the hike, but I knew that for me personally, when I eat straight away afterwards, there's like a little bit of time where I have to let my body digest it for like a good sort of hour or two. I can't do any exercise, because if I do, I feel really lethargic. My energy's just through the floor. I feel almost like I need to rest a little bit. Now that goes hand in hand with my thoughts on the digestive system requiring energy, because it's your body's digesting it, it's breaking it down, it's squashing it up, it's moving it through all your digestive tract, it's getting all the nutrients out, and it's then using those nutrients to kind of filter out, send them places to repair and put stuff in your muscles and all this sort of shit. So for me personally, if you're someone who needs to train a lot, or you, like, this is the other side of it as well, like there's that part of it which for me is important. Like I can train in the morning, I'll have a tiny little bit of food, like so today for example, I did a gym session this morning. I am going bouldering or climbing later on, and all I've eaten, so I finished the gym, all I had was a couple of walnuts, a couple of almonds, a couple of cashews, and a couple of tomatoes, like small little ones. I got a couple of different coloured ones just because I think colour of food is important for variety. And now I can feel it in my stomach. Yeah, like I can feel that I've got food in there, it's digesting. So in like another 2 hours, that food will have sort of just, my body will have digested it enough for me to notice that it's not there, and it won't affect my energy levels. Now, I don't know enough about how the body processes food and all that type of stuff to sort of give advice and all that type of thing, but I know for myself, with how I feel, it works like that. So generally speaking, overall, fasting can be very good for sort of the health benefits. You do feel like, I feel like I've got a lot more energy, I feel like I can focus a lot easier, I feel like I can work out more efficiently if I've not eaten, and then when I do eat, I'm more aware of the quality of the foods that I have. And I just feel like generally fasting makes me more aware of how my body feels as well. Like in terms of being hungry, I now know the difference between, because when you're hungry, it's a chemical release from your head that goes and basically tells your body, yo, look, you need to eat. Now again, there's a lot of biochemistry that goes into the process of hormone releases, so that's not for me to sort of discuss, but I have figured out that I know the difference between a hunger feeling for when my body thinks I need to eat, and a hunger feeling for when I know I need to eat. Like, if I'm a little bit bored, you know, you've been there, you're like a little bit bored, you've not got anything to do, there's some crisps or some cookies in the kitchen, and you're like, I happen to feel a little bit hungry. That's not being fucking hungry. That's your body trying to get you to feed, because what you got to remember, biologically and evolutionary standards, we never used to have a supermarket or a cupboard full of food, okay? When your body your body was, and still, because we've still got that brain, your body's always in a constant state of trying to feed itself because it doesn't know when it's going to get its next meal, okay? So if you're used to eating every couple of hours, your body gets used to that. Your stomach expands, and that sort of hormone release, from what I understand, works at a higher rate because it's used to you eating, so it thinks that you need to carry on eating that much. Where, from my understanding of it, is when you fast, it helps sort of reset that. And again, for me personally, I now know the difference between a little bit of boredom hunger, or my body thinks I'm hungry, to, dude, you need to eat something. It's a different type of hunger. It's like a deep-rooted, like, fucking, I'm going to start and chew my shoe if I don't eat. Like, I'm hungry, rather than just being a little bit peckish. So I feel like I've become more aware of my body through it as well. So that's always good. The next thing I kind of want to talk about is it makes my life so much easier not having to eat breakfast. Because that's the thing, when I eat breakfast, so when I was eating breakfast consistently, if I missed it, I was starving hungry. I was really hungry, my stomach hurt, I felt sick. And then it was like a panic to sort of get some food. So that's when you start and eat like your sandwiches, which got loads of like bad, the bread is bad, the filling's bad. You've got pastries and stuff like that, which, again, the sugar spike that you're getting from eating stuff like that in the morning for many different reasons is very bad. You basically just resort to what you can. Now, one, I don't need to eat in the morning, so I don't need to think about eating until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And as I said earlier, I can push that through. I can push through it, and it doesn't affect me. Like, my energy levels the day after, as long as I keep the quality of the food very high, my energy levels the day after aren't affected whatsoever. So it makes my life easier because I don't have to try and organise breakfast. Like, I have a packet of nuts and normally have a banana or two in my car or at work, and that for me is enough. Like, this morning I had probably like a palm full of food, and that's done me from waking up this morning at like 7 a.m. That'll do me through 2 training sessions, and then I'll have like my big meal later. Which, you know, if I was eating breakfast and then eating every 2 or 3 hours, that would not be enough. So it's like, like I said earlier, it's like your body's not reliant on the food that you're taking in. Your body uses the fuel that you've got inside of you already, which kind of brings me on to the next point. I've noticed that for me, again, me personally, I don't know about anybody else, but I've noticed that I tend to lose fat when I fast well. So I think it's a multitude of reasons. I think the first thing is the amount of calories that are actually going into your body is lower, but the quality of them is higher. So what I mean by that is sometimes people can eat a lot of empty calories. So you can be taking in, say a bowl of cereal is like 600 calories. An orange, I think, is generally like 80 to 100 calories, because I eat a big bowl of cereal and I like a lot of milk. But an orange is like, what, this big? Like a little bowl. I know full well that right now, if I had a bowl of cereal, I'd be shitting for 2 days because all the milk just doesn't agree with me. I'd have a massive sugar rush for an hour and then I'd feel really shit. But the thing is, I've consumed all those extra calories. So those calories are still going in your body and they still get stored. Whereas if I eat an orange, let's just say it's 100 calories or 150 calories, I don't know exactly. But I'm fuller, so I feel full, I don't feel bloated. And you'll notice a difference with that. If you ever start fasting, you'll notice a difference between feeling bloated and feeling full. So I actually feel full. My body's got a lot of vitamins and minerals going into it. It's also got fibre going into it, so it helps my digestive system. And I don't have that high sugar spike. Even though it is sugar, it's a different type of sugar. It's because it's blended in with the actual material of the fruit. It's digested differently. It takes a longer time for your body to access it, so you don't have that spike and a drop. It's more of a subtle little hum, which is where you want to be throughout the day. You don't want a sugar spike if you're trying to lose fat specifically. So for me, it's it makes my life a lot easier. It's made me more aware of the foods that I eat, and it's also cheaper as well. Like, that's another benefit of fasting. Because I generally eat less food, I have to buy less food, I have to cook less often. So it generally makes my life easier, as well as helping me feel like I lose fat. And I read something once, I don't know how true it is, but somebody might be able to like kind of give an input on this. Apparently, like, one of the determining factors on how long you live is how many calories your body has to like sort of process through your life. Apparently, you know, because it makes sense. Like, the same way as a car age could be sort of there's a correlation between the amount of miles a car's done and the sort of the age that it'll run it. So if you've got a car that's 50 years old, but you've only done like 50,000 miles in it, it's still relatively new car. Like, you might need the paint doing and you might need some new tyres, but the engine and all that sort of stuff, if you've been looking after it, it's going well. Whereas if you've car that's got 50 years old and it's done 500,000 miles, that car is going to be falling to bits. So I kind of I hear the premise on it, I understand the theory of it, but I don't know if it's true. But from how my body feels fasting, I feel like I've got more energy. I feel like I'm not, like I say, I'm not bloated. I don't have as much body fat. I'm eating less food, so I'm going to the toilet less, which means I feel like my digestive system is having a chance to relax. Just generally, I feel like there's loads of benefits to it, which is why I started it for 6 weeks, and 2 years later, I'm still doing it. So the next thing that I kind of want to talk about, let me have a look. I've got a little list. So yeah, okay, this is a good important one. So obviously I fast the vast majority of the time. Like, I'd say the only time I don't fast is if, like, I don't know, like if I'm having an off day, in terms of like I'm planning on having a breakfast because I want to go out, if my family's going out for breakfast, or if there's some event going on that I want to eat food at in the morning, I will let myself do it, because I'd say like that probably only happens once every few weeks, if not a little bit more. When I eat food in the morning, even if it's good food, I generally feel like I've got lower amounts of energy in the day, which is really strange. I've not figured that out yet. I don't know if it's because of the fact that my digestive system's kicking in. Like, I definitely notice a difference if I eat a lot of food. Like, say if I've had a breakfast in the morning at like 9 a.m. and then at like 11 o'clock I have something else to eat, I feel so tired, which is really strange. I just feel like maybe that's just specific to me. I run really well off of no food in the morning, especially mentally. Like, when I'm at work, if I eat food in the morning, I don't feel like I've got the same sort of sharp clarity in terms of like my thoughts, ideas. When I'm communicating with people, it's a little bit more fluffy and there's a few more responses that my brain tries to figure out. Whereas when I'm fasted, it's just like, boom, straight there, it's on it. So again, maybe it's the resource thing. There's more energy going down to my stomach and my intestines and my gut. My kidneys and liver are working. Whereas normally, it's just like, from there downwards, it's chilled, and all of this can, you know, use all that fuel that's already in my body. So maybe that's just something with me. So yeah, I mean, fasting, I would recommend trying it. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can try it. For me, I started off very simply. Don't eat anything until sort of 12 o'clock, and then stop eating at 10 o'clock. Now, depends how far you want to take it. Now, if you like are someone that just cannot live without some chocolate in the day, try and eat the chocolate in the middle of the day. So, for example, you wake up, you comes to 12 or 1 o'clock, you want to eat something nice and small. For me, preferably, you want to have vegetables, nuts, or fruits, okay? And if you do eat meat, pop a little bit of meat in there. If you don't eat meat, don't eat it. Now, one thing I would say, if you are trying to lose fat, avoid, if you can, super high sugar fruits, okay? Just look into the difference between super high sugar fruits. Not even like high sugar. You wanna keep away from foods that are high on what's called the glycemic index, which is how fast you absorb the sugar within a food. So there's some fruits and some foods that when you eat it, you absorb all the sugar super quick. You want to avoid those because that gives you the sugar spike and it dumps it into your system. And there's some stuff with insulin and all this type of shit that can change how much fat you absorb and how much fat you store and all that sort of stuff. So to keep it nice and clear, I would basically, if you're trying to lose fat, avoid fruit in the morning for the first couple of weeks. Just have some sort of vegetables, meats, nuts. Think of it as a meal, all right? Now the whole word breakfast comes from break fast. We as a society, and however you believe about the world, has created cereals and it's created pastries in the morning and coffee with sugars for many different reasons. But I do believe that one of them is to keep people sort of hooked on food. So they have a sugar spike in the morning, they go through the day, and then they're like, oh, I'm a bit tired, so I'll have some more food, a sugar spike, because people don't choose the right foods, and then they're all right for an hour or two, and then they drop, so they have a snack, so they brought back up, and then people just do this with their energy levels all day. So then by the time they get to the end of the day, they're fucked. And then, when you're super tired, I think there's been science done to it that when you're tired, your brain actually is wired to go for choices that have got high sugar because it knows that it will get the energy quicker. So I think that's quite interesting. Now, when you fast, because again, I said earlier, you want that nice little hum, you don't end up with that spike in energy level, and it's way easier to get a lot more work done. Like, I'm more productive now than I've ever been before, and I eat lower amounts of food, so that means I'm cooking less, I'm going to the toilet less, I'm eating fewer times. So I've got more time in the day, but then I'm more productive with that time as well, so it's kind of twofold. So yeah, going back to my breakfast sort of conversation, I have a banana and like almond butter or a few walnuts. You can have peanut butter if you want, but it's not the best, but I really like peanut butter, so that's kind of like my little treat in the morning. I have a little bit of peanut butter, but I get it from a good brand that's got no extra shit in it. It's like 99% peanut butter and then like a little bit of oil just to kind of keep it not too clacky. And just start off with a little bit. Like, I would personally, if you want to have a go, I'd say just try it. Like, just say, right, from tomorrow, I'm not going to eat anything in the morning. Now, you will feel hungry, okay? Don't be alarmed by that because, again, your body's in a cycle, it's in a rhythm. Your body likes to be in a routine. Like, that's why when you're in a sleeping routine, your body naturally wakes up without an alarm because it likes to be in rhythms. So if you're in an eating rhythm where you wake up at 7, you eat at 7:30, if you wake up at 7 and don't eat while 11 o'clock, your body is like, what the fuck? Like, there's no food coming in, we might starve to death. Again, going back to the hunter-gatherer type mentality, the biological clock in your body does not realise that you have food at your desk that you can eat at any time. So it's kicking off that hormone response to tell you to eat, which means you get hungry. So you're okay to ignore that to a certain point. If you start feeling like you're lightheaded, you're going a little bit dizzy, the first thing I would say is, are you drinking too much coffee? All right. Now, okay, I'm just going to go back to square one. How to fast, all right? Now, if you want to fast properly, for the type of fasting I'm talking about, then the only thing that you can consume is water. That's it. You can't have water with lemon. You can't have a cup of coffee. Some people say that you can have black coffee, but for me, that's consuming something, and I do believe that coffee starts your digestive system off. That's why you need to go to the toilet after you've had a cup. Obviously, no sugar, no bread, no cereals, nothing at all outside of water. For me, personally, that's fasting. So, and this is another good thing. It's going to show you how dependent you are on stuff like coffee and tea and energy drinks. Like, if you wake up in the morning and you have to drink a cup of coffee to wake you up, you are not a healthy person. I don't give a shit about what nutritionist you are, what dietitian you are, or anything like that. If you are reliant on something to wake you up, your body is not healthy. Or you are doing too much work, you're trying to stimulate yourself too much, you need to rein it back, you need to get some better sleep, you need to get these rhythms in your body, and help yourself, because I'm a very high energy person, all right? I wake up sometime between 6 and 7, I exercise 5 days a week, I have a full-time job, I work in a gym doing 15 hours a week. I'm starting to get clients. I socialize with people. I do podcasts. I make TikToks. And I wake up and I'm like this, okay? It might be something to do with the wiring inside my brain, all right? But for me, anybody can get to this level of energy when you are very focused on the quality of what you put inside of you. And I think that fasting is a very, very good way to show you how dependent you are on stuff. Like, are you dependent on eating every couple of hours? Or are you dependent on drinking teas and coffees or energy drinks in the morning because you don't have that base of like reliance on your body? And I mean, for me, if you don't have that sort of confidence or that the ability to kind of trust your body to look after yourself, if you need to consume something to kind of bring that up, then you're not in a healthy place. And I have been there. I was someone who did a lot of bad stuff. I consumed a lot of negative stuff, where it was smoking, drinking, eating, external validation, all this type of stuff. So I'm not speaking from a place of, you know, you're wrong. I'm speaking from a place, I'm trying to help you sort of grow and find a place that actually you are happy. And rather than having energy levels that go up like this and waking up feeling like shit, so you have to drink something or you have to eat something, you wake up and you're just good. Like, I can wake up at 5:30 in the morning, drink a load of water, go to the gym and have a fucking insane workout. And I think that's what the human body should be able to do. Like, you know, it just, again, like, it makes me think about all the caveman days where we were sleeping in caves and in holes and you had to go out and hunt for food. It's like, could you imagine, like, waking up, like, the sun's cracking, you know, dawn's coming, we need to go out and hunt some food, and then there's a caveman that's like, wait, hang up, boys, I need to have a cup of coffee before I wake up, you know. It'd be like, what? Like, we need to go and kill this animal or we're not going to eat for a week. And he's like, no, I need my cup of coffee. That's not the way that humans are supposed to be. Like, don't be tricked by all this this modern stuff that we have access to. It makes our lives easier, but it doesn't take away from what we're supposed to be. At the end of the day, we are an animal. It's just we have conscious ability and we have more intelligence, or different type of intelligence, and we socialize differently and we can pass down information far better than other animals. But we are still a biological animal and the principles work the same. And I think, do you know what? I was reading a study actually, and they and it's looping it back to this body fat and the way you look type stuff. I'm sure there was a study done with rats or mice, and they basically let like this one group of mice eat as many times a day as it wanted. So it just left the food out all day. The mice would eat as much as it could, and obviously the mice gained weight because they were eating more than they were sort of burning off. Now what they also did at the same time as that is they got another group of rats or mice, same animals, in terms of if they use rats, they use rats. If they use mice, they use mice. I'm aware that rats and mice are different before anybody starts and sort of moans at me for that. They restricted the amount of time that the animal could eat, alright? So maybe they only let the animal eat for 6 hours, but during that time, they let it eat as much as it wanted, alright? So there was no limit on the volume of food. All they changed was the frequency of food. And I think they found out, they measured it, that the amount of food that they ate was very similar. So they weren't starving the animal in any way. They were just sort of not allowing it to eat the frequency that it chose to. And I'm sure in that study it said that the digestive system of the animal worked in such a way that it was impossible for it to actually store fat, because it was eating the same amount of food, but because it had that rest period, it had to convert the food that it consumed into energy better, and it had to actually use the fat stores on the body as fuel. Because that's why we store fat. We store fat because it's got the highest calorie per gram out of proteins, carbs and fats. That's why we don't like carry around a bag of protein like on his arm, and we don't have like carb layers. We store fat because I think it's got 9 calories per gram rather than, I think protein and carbs have 5 or 4. So it's literally the best source of energy for you. So when you fast, from my understanding, when your body would normally sort of kick in and say you're hungry, you need to eat, what it does is it says, okay, well, we need some energy. Okay, well, where do we find that energy? And then your body goes, yo, there's loads of it like all around you. You can just use some of that. And then I believe that is where the whole ketogenic diet comes from. You eat really low amount of carbohydrates and up your fats, so your body gets used to using the fats as fuel rather than being dependent on carbohydrates, because the vast majority of carbs, especially if they're like processed, are just really bad for you. Like, you know, the chemicals that they put into it and the way that they sort of, you can just consume loads as well. So yeah, I won't get into that. It's very easy to get off topic. But yeah, for me, fasting it's amazing. Like there's a reason why I said I was going to do it for 6 weeks, and I've ended up doing it for 2 years. I've got to say, it makes my life easier. I feel healthier and happier. Like, and just purely like, I don't get bloated. Like, I used to eat things like pasta and loads of rice. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't eat that sort of stuff, but it does make you aware of how your body feels when you eat it. Like, if all you eat for a couple of days, things like nuts, fruits, vegetables, a little bit of meat, some like seasoning herbs, things like that, and then you eat a big bowl of pasta, you can tell that your body's not full. You can tell that it's just your stomach expanding because it's bloated. And for me, like, you shouldn't eat that. Like, if that's how your body feels, once you found a baseline, if you try different things and then it doesn't feel good and it doesn't work well with your body, you should never eat that food, or eat it as very little as possible. It's literally developing an awareness and a connection with your body so that you can understand how it works best. Because for me, I fast through the night, and in the morning, you might be someone who has to wake up and eat, but then stops eating at 5 o'clock and fasts all night, through the afternoon and through the night. Like I haven't played around with that, to be fair, but I've played around with eating in the morning and I feel terrible off it. So I'm just not going to eat in the morning, and that works for me. So I suppose the main sort of thing that I want you to kind of take away from this, because I've sort of been ditzy-datsy and all over like I normally am, is that for me, fasting works. It makes me more aware of what I'm putting in my body. It forces me to choose options that are higher quality because I'm eating less frequently. So if you're someone who's kind of stuck on fat loss, or just someone that wants to be healthy, if you want to try something new or just see how it works, try it for a few weeks. If it doesn't work, then don't fast. You can try fasting for 1 or 2 days a week. I think there's probably some evidence somewhere that says that fasting all the time isn't good for you, but I mean, I personally, like, the thing with scientific studies are they can be very, very helpful if you're researching something, but I think nothing in terms of health and fitness can sort of take away from experimenting in some aspect on yourself and seeing how you personally feel. Because, you know, the 50 people that they used for a study, well, I mean, your preferences, your lifestyle, your background, your genetics, the things that you're allergic to or you have intolerances to, all could be completely different from all of those 50 people. So the studies are very good to look at, and they're very interesting to read to get perspective and understanding on sort of principles and ideas. But I don't think there's any substitution for actually having a go. And also, like, just as a side note, it is really good for your discipline. Like, not eating until like 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon is sometimes really hard. Like, I'll wake up and do a workout, finish my workout at 8 o'clock, and then not eating any food for 3 hours. Like, I know my body's hungry, but again, it's my body saying, yo, you need to eat, bro. And I'm like, no, I don't. You can burn that fat off. And it does. Like, I don't think I've ever been as lean as I am at the minute. And I'm not really training an insane amount. I'm just, again, choosing better quality foods and overall just eating in less foods. And don't be worried about eating less food. I do feel like my body's got adjusted to it. Like, I feel like my stomach's got smaller, so my portion sizes are smaller, but I still feel the same fullness. I don't wake up in the morning like hungry, and yeah, I mean, that's it really. I'm blabbering on a bit now, so I'll kind of bring it to a close. But I definitely feel like you should try it. For me, it's worked wonders. If you try it in the morning and it doesn't work, try eating in the morning and then fast at night. Remember, no sugars in the morning, guys. No sugar, like cereals and pastries and sugar in your coffees and stuff like that. And if you do want to fast, do it properly. I think coffee is just a bit of a crutch to get your energy levels up, if I'm being totally honest. And, you know, I'm not going to get into anything more than that, because I know that people who like coffee will like start and throw stones at me, but I don't care. Like, if you want to say that you can completely be a healthy person, you should have no external sort of things that you need to rely on, especially for energy levels. Like, so yeah, I'd kick everything out until sort of midday, see how you feel with it, water only, and just on that topic, try and get a good water that's got some vitamins and minerals in it. I don't know if it's got vitamins in, I think it's just minerals. Yeah, it's just minerals for water. And that's it. Try fasting. It's worked for me. I hope you find something useful out of this sort of amalgamation of different ideas and concepts and experiences. So yeah, I'll speak to you soon, guys. I hope you have a lovely day.